Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Brendan, and I'm here with John.
Howdy.
You heard it here first. He said, "Fucking howdy."
hmm
So, what's going on today?
Um, well, want to talk about suffering?
Yeah.
You sound so excited.
I had to say goodbye to some boiling water today.
What does that mean?
Well, the boiling water had to leave, so I said, "You'll be missed."
Uh, uh, uh. You can track my mental processing time on that one. Everyone can see it. It
Yeah,
took precisely how many seconds for me
took
to
that one took the
to
long
get
way
that.
around.
Yeah, I took the scenic route on that one. Okay, thank you. Thank you
You're
for that.
welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, let us talk about suffering because I think people avoid that, don't
They
like
avoid
it.
suffering?
Yeah. Well, actually, technically, no, they don't avoid it. They go right into it.
Yeah,
We're
they do
fucking
it a lot.
addicted to that. So, and if you really look at it, I know it's a bold statement, and I know probably if you're not familiar with this work, talking to you, the listeners out there, you'll say, no, of course we don't want suffering, but just take a fucking look at what you do on the daily to yourself. But it's like, I mean, Peter just came out with another video. I mean, I put out Peter's videos, so it's like I'm the mastermind behind the fucking YouTube. He's the mastermind behind the content. But I'm
Mm.
like, we need YouTube. Anyway, so I got it going. So I put out the videos and I put out one on oh shit, what was it? Oh no, I lost my train of thought. I put out a video on like you keep you live in excuses. You don't keep
Mm.
your word. Like people don't tend to keep their word. They live in excuses or whatever, and they don't do what they say they're gonna do. And then people on the video, like in the comments, ended up somewhat defending their right, defending their position of it's okay to make excuses. Like it's
Mm.
okay to live in excuse land, as if excusing that
Mhm.
I can like see it. So it's like people come here and they end up defending their suffering.
Well, you didn't say what I'd have to give up to end my suffering. I might have to give up something I don't want to give up.
Yeah, like the suffering part.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, so, so you also just put out a video that was a short excerpt from the most recent book by Peter that's coming out in 2025.
That's right. Peter
Um,
is writing a new book. Well, he has written a new book. It is at the publisher. They're working to get their shit together enough to publish it. Okay, I guess I shouldn't say that way. They are publishing it.
yeah,
Spring
in the spring of
2025.
2025.
Yeah.
And this is about ending unnecessary suffering.
Yeah.
So the assertion there is that suffering, at least some of it, is unnecessary.
Yeah, like 99% of it. I just go out on a limb and say that.
Okay. So you are saying also that there's some small percentage of suffering that may be just necessary if you're alive, you're going to get that no matter
Like
what.
that.
It
Yeah,
comes
like
with
if you're going to engage in being a human, if you're going to engage in being a self, if you're going to engage in having a body. See what I did there?
well, you asserted that there's a choice there, or at least that there's
Oh
a
no, yeah,
possibility of
you don't have a
engagement and
choice.
non-engagement.
Yeah, I mean maybe, but that no.
Okay.
Not you won't be talking to me if that's the case. Like if you had a
You're
choice,
like
you,
that's
wouldn't, you
above
won't be
above
talking.
above the pay grade.
That's right. It's above my pay grade. We don't go there. Go talk to
Okay.
Jesus about that.
So, oh yeah, he
Dead.
did that. He was good with that. Um, so then, so the 99% that is, um, let me read you the beginning of the excerpt very, very beginning, and maybe you could riff off of it.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I can.
So Peter says, "Why does everyone end up going down a road that creates unnecessary suffering? Why does
Yeah.
everyone end up going down a road that creates unnecessary suffering?
It's a good question.
It's it seems shared unconscious drives which dominate much of our experience push us in this direction.
Yeah.
And as mentioned previously, I guess, ignorance is the other reason we continue with ill-fated activities. But what makes this so commonplace for people?"
Yeah.
So I guess the assertion is that
That's a great
this is
question.
really, really commonplace. Everybody does it. Everyone ends up going down a road that creates unnecessary suffering. Is that true? Does everyone do this? Is this universal?
It looks it to me. I've not seen a single person that doesn't do that.
Okay. So then if we're all doing it, then we're like fish in water. We don't even recognize it because everyone's doing it all the time.
Sure, that sounds true.
Okay. I know. I mean, I don't know. I'm just
Well, I mean,
speculating
yeah,
here.
yeah, like, yeah. I mean, holy shit, dude. I've been with Peter a long time.
Mm.
We were actually talking the other day, and it was, we were going.
People don't realize the profundity of that statement. I've been with Peter a long time, like what that really means.
Yeah, it's yeah. Go come study with him a little bit. I mean, it'll be with me, but with him. Come to a workshop. Of course, you're invited to come to a workshop, but like come meet the man. And I've been with him like for fucking ever. And we were talking the other day, and he was saying to me like, "Well, what would you, he's like, man, I was tooting my own horn and being like, look, you wouldn't be doing a whole bunch of shit you're doing if it wasn't for me, which is true. Like workshops, he wouldn't be doing those if I was gone. He'd shut it all down. He'd shut the center down. There'd be no workshops, nothing happening in that regard. Just done.
Wow.
Yeah, and he knows that, and because he told me that a long time ago, and then I also said, hey, you probably wouldn't be doing all this stuff like continuing to work. So I basically keep him working,
Hmm.
and he's like, yeah, if it wasn't for you, I'd probably be living somewhere else, like in the Caribbean or somewhere, with the ocean, like somewhere nice
What a beautiful beach with
in a beautiful
hey,
area.
fucking
And he's like, yeah, so essentially you're keeping me in Texas, he tells me. And I'm like, yeah, and you're keeping me in Texas too, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So essentially we're keeping each other in
why don't
Texas.
you guys just move to the Caribbean together? At least get to a nice spot. Shit.
No, we like the fucking
You enjoy your suffering.
the
This
desert.
is the unnecessary suffering right there.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So it's like, yeah. So anyway, so I've been with him. My point of this story is sort of a little bit of a story. Is been with him a long time, and so I'd hear him talk, right, and then he's saying stuff, and then I start editing videos. I mean, I have hundreds of hours of video footage of him working. I mean, I'm just so I deal with him a lot, whether it's business, whether we're doing workshops, whether he's working with apprentices, and then I'm doing videos and I'm listening to him and I'm like, oh, so years ago I find out he's saying the same shit. And he was saying the same shit to people 20 years ago in his school, like old school, saying the same things, different language, same message. And I'm like, holy fuck. And then I start to get some freedom from my own self. I make some major confrontations in my own mind and get the real cause of my distress. I get responsible for my experience in a major way, not a minor way, but in like, it is balls to the wall. It's my experience. There is no other person that does this experience.
Can you say
And
that again? Would you repeat that again, please?
there
Didn't
is
quite get it.
no other person that does my experience. That far back or further back?
That and just one sentence before, if you can remember it.
I
Never mind. Keep
confronted
going.
I confronted
Okay, yeah.
my mind in a major way.
Yeah.
I confronted myself in a major way. My own pain. and I got real. I got responsible for my experience.
Because no
Most
one
people,
else does your pain but you.
yeah, and my entire experience, whatever that is, now I can't control certain things. Many, 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 many things I cannot control. But who's the one relating to those things?
Hmm.
What way do I want to do it? Who's the one who's reacting? Who's the one who's in pain about something I can't control? Who's the one? Somebody else? Fuck no. It's
You can
me now.
always control at least one of the major elements in the equation.
Yeah.
So you can
My
always change the
reaction. Yeah.
equation.
Like that. Yeah. And then the stuff I can't control, there's no reactivity in the external world, but people, we live like it is caused by the external world, which is a lie. It's incorrect. It's just flat out wrong in that sense. It's just not true. That's not how it works. But we live as if it works that way. You caused me to be this way. It's your fault. It's not mine. You see, then now I'm powerless. You have control. I don't have control. And that's not how it works. So we're lying about how it works. We're not acknowledging the truth of the matter. And we're disempowering ourselves.
Is that why it's this unnecessary suffering is so ubiquitous? Is that the right word? It's so
I
universal. Like
no,
because there's a lie about where suffering comes from, that it's originating,
it's
external to ourselves.
I think one of many what we could call lies, but in this case we could say like we could use the word assumptions, what we assume is true of reality, ergo what we experience is true of reality is incorrect.
What we experience as true of reality isn't
And
correct.
yeah, and remember I went through like several words there because I'm people get locked onto the language, so now I'm using a few different languages to say the same thing, which is to say it's false. There's something dishonest, untrue. We're not telling the truth about it, which is to say, we're not conscious of what's true there. We assume reality is a certain way, and the assumption, ergo, what we experience of reality is incorrect, because ergo, not true.
Hmm.
Like, for example, oh, yeah, I mean, my weird example that I give often in workshops, you're over there and I'm over here. That is one very big assumption that we live within. That social is real, that there is a person there and that there is a person here with certain characteristics that can be hurt. These are all assume, 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 assume. We don't know if that's true or not. See, now I just fucking ripped out everything that you call familiar. Do you like me now? How
Well,
do you like me now?
who's over here to like you now?
Yeah, see, we don't. There's like what I'm saying is there's a whole bunch of unknown shit. So yeah, if you're asking about the ubiquitous question, like why are these things so ubiquitous? Why does everybody suffer? I think it's just based on a mistake and many mistakes. Probably the first of which is being a person, as Peter's been going off recently about being a person. But you see, and then that just flies in the face of things that we call familiar. So you're like, what? I can't be a person. It's like, of course you can be a person. I'm just saying, if you're a person, it comes with consequences. I don't care if you're a
Hmm.
person or not. But that the
Probably comes
truth
with
of
some benefits too, I imagine,
yeah,
or people
power,
wouldn't do
certain
it.
powers, whatever, and or rather than being a person, maybe I can do a person,
Hmm.
not have to be a person, as if that's a real thing. You know. Anyway, so blah 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 blah. Who the fuck cares? Come to a workshop, work that because what I just said, who cares? Really, who cares? It just who cares? It's stupid. Um,
So
but
then,
the
more.
suffering thing, I think, comes from our what we are attached to, what we think is we need, what is necessary, or Buddha says something like suffering has to do with life or thirst. Some rough translation to thirst, whatever the fuck thirst means. Desire,
Hmm.
need. And you notice we have lots of desires and needs, yeah? And that inherent in that is suffering right away. And then it gets worse as far as I can tell. That I'm just trying to lay out the land here. It gets worse in the sense that not only do we desire and need things, but then we assume that if we don't do that, then we won't get other things. Like, well, if I stop all desire and all need, like here's one big assumption that comes up over and over and over a fucking again. I can't do anything with my life. No, you idiot. You can do shit. Do whatever the fuck you want. But if I didn't want it, I couldn't make $1 million. Yeah, you can. You don't need the desire, the suffering part. You can just go make the shit. That's one. So it's like these things work together. There's like a whole complex structure that just seems to work with itself that we live within and take for granted. Now that there's another thing. We take it for granted, and here's another thing. We ignore shit. Just like Peter is saying in there, we forget we're doing that. We just think it's real.
Hmm.
And so if you squash all that together, you've got yourself a recipe for some fucking suffering that we don't even know, and we don't care because we're just trying to do life. Coupled with a strong drive to survive, and then survive as what, you ask? Well, a person. But what's a person? It's a highly conceptualized framework. We're not surviving just the body. That's the easy shit. You just feed it shit, you're good. Keep it warm, good to go. But me as a person, now that's important stuff.
Let me, so
Anyway.
you're saying a lot, and I'm sure I'm not processing all of it, but I had an let's say maybe a couple insights
Mm,
last night,
sweet.
and I think it relates, or we could relate it directly to what you're talking about. And I wonder if you could help me glean maybe deeper insight into what I was talking, what I experienced last night, and then maybe kind of map it on or relate it to what you were just saying
I'll give it a shot
for the viewers at home.
for the viewers at home like you.
So I was suffering a lot last night, and I was really suffering in a way where it was I would say it's habitual. Like suffering to me, it feels like the same wheels are spinning again and again and again, and sometimes they just get faster and heavier, or
Sure.
something like that. They get more intense, and when they get intense enough, that's when I start to really look within. That's when I just go, whoa, 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 whoa. Who's doing this? What is going on? You know? And I I realized, number one, like the first gleam of insight was I was feeling sorry for myself. I noticed that I was feeling sorry for myself. And so I stopped doing it for like a moment. And then I went right back to feeling I was notice feeling sorry for myself. And I noticed I would do it again and again. I had to do it several times before I noticed I was feeling sorry with myself, and I was like, "Stop! Fucking quit it! Stop now!"
Yeah.
And I stopped, with a little bit of staying power, you know,
Yeah. Let's go. Let's quit it.
and and I noticed I was really feeling the suffering related to several circumstances in my life, some of which you know about, you know. Um, And I had this moment where I was standing on the street corner waiting for the light to change so I could walk across without getting run over. And I just realized, if I just immediately had like full on amnesia, a lot of my suffering, like the vast majority of it, would end immediately.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just kind of got all at once, like, of a general sense of how much my identity is wrapped up in my suffering, and my suffering is wrapped up in my identity as a man, as a father, as an American, as so many different things,
Yeah.
as an agent or a victim in various kinds of circumstances. And I could kind of get a feeling, tactile sense even though it's not a tactile, it's not a physical thing, but it feels like a physical thing because it's an activity. Somehow it's like something that I do. It takes effort. It takes energy, but
Yeah.
it's so habitual that it doesn't take effort, it doesn't take energy, but it
Yeah, it
does. You know
becomes
what I mean?
falls into the automatic function of mind.
Yeah. And so now I was walking home, I crossed the street, kind of contemplating this, kind of just looking at my identity. And then I went and I was able to have a conversation with my partner who's great at listening and just reflecting.
Two
And
thumbs up for John's partner, by the way, just in case you motherfuckers out there don't know.
and so just by being able to like riff about, I was just looking because she asked me like, how are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm suffering a lot. And she's basically like, okay, tell me more. And I just um looked at this, and then I'm not being too specific. I guess I could be a little bit more specific. I was noticing, for example, as a father, that I suffer a great deal about being a good father. I suffer a great deal about circumstances that I are outside of my control, outcomes especially which are outside of my control. I will, whether I go with one lawyer or another, I do not know if I'll have the custody arrangement that I want, for example. And even if I get it, I don't know if the outcome for my son will actually be a very good thing. If he's going to turn into a person that I think is a good person,
Yeah,
respectable, someone that I like, or if he's going to turn into a little shit like I was when I was a teenager and
yeah.
in my early 20s and stuff. And just as an example, so after the conversation, there was more to it than just having to do with my son. It was kind of like relating to, oh, freedom. I have a big thing about freedom. Like, freedom is really, really important to me. As an identity, it's important to me, but then it's also just important to me,
Yeah.
you see. And there's a lot of suffering there when I don't feel free, when I think I'm not free, when I think other people are not free,
Well,
and they don't see it.
just to confront you a little bit, and then
Please.
just there, what you're talking about, because I know that one for myself. What you're not talking about freedom, you're talking about wanting to do what you want when you want. Freedom, actual freedom, would be if you are completely trapped, you're still free.
Mm,
If you are completely dominated, you're still free. That would be freedom, just as a sidebar. But yeah, I
okay.
know, I understand. Yes, you have a big thing in your identity. If somebody starts to take control like that, that is a problem. Or like squash you down, that is a problem. Or you see somebody else telling somebody that they can't do what they want to do, and you're like, fuck, you can tell them, nope, fuck you. That's my.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, you have that, and keep going.
Yeah, like that. Real freedom is freedom when you're trapped in a box. Like, real love is the ability to love your enemies.
Sure.
And
Yeah, or just yeah, like that unconditional,
yeah.
not like preset conditions. But you were talking about suffering before I derailed the
Yeah,
conversation.
well, I guess it just lightened up, and got an opportunity to look at the identity that I habitually create, and maybe to kind of ease off a little bit.
Yeah,
But I
perfect.
think it's going to take a lot more sort of passes of
Yeah,
this terrain to really loosen it up. And to your point about, you can make $1 million without like wanting it, desiring it, I would say, like fiending for it or being driven in this really painful way. you know I got a little bit free about the outcome of my son. That doesn't mean that I can't pursue a a legal course of action to try to improve the situation, or
right.
that I'm not going to. It just
Yeah,
means that I recognize, like, oh yeah, I can't put my eggs in these baskets of impermanence, and they're not secure places to put my sense of happiness
Yeah, you
or
can't put it
non-suffering.
anywhere except on your own two. I mean, you can, but there's consequences if you put
Consequences.
it
Yeah.
on somebody else for your happiness. No, you will never be happy because they're not going to do. They're in it for them. Yeah, for
Yeah, or
sure.
even just life going a certain way, whether it's
Yeah,
other
because
people.
it won't, and you're going to die. As we go on and on and on about you're a fucking corpse walking. Uh, that's okay. Got it.
So how can you like sort of like what I guess what I'm asking you to help me with, and
Mm.
then maybe by extension to help other people with, is how does what I've just described to you relate to um, recognizing these unconscious drives and ignorance about where suffering comes from. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, man, there's so much. Thank you for sharing.
Mm,
And there's a. I was watching my mind as you were talking. I'm like, oh, we can go down here. We can go here. We can go. Oh, okay, but we can go all these different ways. Like in terms of, I was talking to Peter. Again, I talk to Peter a lot. We were hanging out, and he was talking about the apprentices and about how what he says they just don't make a connection between the what's being communicated in real life, and it
mm.
becomes like, consciousness work becomes like, oh, as I told him about myself when I was studying years ago, it's like it becomes something that I should do that you told me about but I'm not doing because I don't care,
Yeah, and I
essentially.
want to, and I think that's part of the reason I wanted to share that, because I want to talk about actual things that I experience in my real life custody case for my son. Uh,
Right.
like actual situations that I'm emotionally invested in and that I've suffered over a great deal. And I imagine
Like other
it's
people
it's
suffering stuff.
unnecessary, and I'm sure people can identify, come on, what's a relationship that you've got going on? What's a situation? A boss, parents, children, loved ones, or not so loved ones, etc.,
Yeah.
where you're suffering a lot, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I
And your
think,
whole life.
yeah, just anywhere in your life that happens. I think there are several things. One big thing, like at a base level, that needs to happen is the principle of responsibility, and most people aren't. So then I would confront right away, like first, I think first, well, actually, probably even prior to that, first there needs to be a willingness to look into your own experience and a willingness to be like, if am I going to do what it takes to end this? Am I willing? Am I willing to tell the truth to myself? Am I willing to be honest? Am I willing to stay open that maybe I don't know the real cause of all this shit? Good. If we got that, good. We can proceed to now let's take a look.
Question.
Yeah.
For me, when you just talk about that part, am I willing? I've noticed for me that most of my insights that I've experienced, breakthroughs, even the enlightenment experience that I had, happened on the back of so much suffering that I just I stopped looking in all the stupid places.
Okay.
I'm like a really
Suffering is
slow
not a
learner.
prerequisite for enlightenment. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Well, that's my question, because that's my that's what I think my historical pattern has been, but
right.
it's not necessarily that way, is it?
No, not
People
at
don't
all.
have to wait until it gets to be like absolute shit and they're like, oh, maybe I'm the one doing it. Like maybe they could just start there.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't need to go down those roads for sure. But I
Don't do
think
what John
usually
did.
usually people just aren't motivated to move, or they're not. Life's too easy, so they don't go for it in that
Mm,
sense. If you're talking
mm.
enlightenment, I think people just honestly probably don't work hard enough at it. They do it for the wrong reasons or something. But anyway, that's another story, totally different topic. But so you get willing, and then get responsible. And what I mean when I say people aren't responsible is like just the like like if somebody was to come to me, I can think of like I can think of somebody that I traveled with once, and we had some problems at the airport, and there's some mix up with like car traffic tickets, and she's really upset. And you can I can imagine the conversation going on, and she's like blaming the airport for her upset. And it's like, so right there, if she wanted to like end that, I'd have to say, look, who's upset? And she'd be like, well, I'm upset, but they blah 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 blah. And it's like, it doesn't matter what they blah 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 blah, but in that world, it's them made me. And if you really, I mean, and this is like a small thing. I mean, how many times you go do something, somebody runs a red light, cuts you off, it pisses you off, right? Like, do you like the anger? Well, no, but they. See, if you really want to end this shit, you got to get responsible for your own experience, which is to say, cool, I get it. Yeah, they fucked up at the airport, but you're the one who's angry. Yeah, but blah, blah. But there's always a yeah, but. Yeah, but this. Yeah, but that. Or yeah, but this. It's like, if you want to end the shit that you say is suffering, you got to confront that it's you. It's your fucking experience. Like, bar none, it's you. And the thing with responsibility is it's already that way. Because it's you.
I remember being at a dance workshop once and asking the teacher, you know, what to do if my partner was like fucking it up. And he was like, well, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Yeah, like in that yeah, sure. Along those lines, there's like little tidbits of wisdom here and there that relate. See,
Hmm.
it's your experience. So then say you get responsible. Now you can start working. Now you have a chance. Now you have a chance because now you can do something about your reactions. You can't change, like I said, you can't change external circumstances, but you can change how you relate to them.
So that assumption that you were talking about, where the money thing, like I won't go after the $1 million.
Yeah.
I can hear myself, and I can imagine so many people saying, but my dance partner is fucking up. The airport did fucking lose my luggage.
Yeah, take
The
responsibility for how
and
you relate to all that. Right. Of
and
course.
and
Yeah,
and
that's
and
it.
and, and
Yeah.
then they're thinking like, well, if I'm not upset, if I'm not angry, I will not relate to those things appropriately. I will not get my luggage. I will not go after that $1 million, and I will not say to my partner, "Hey, actually, you need to step to your right, not your left,"
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. And that is that so that my argument for that is what I'm calling the third option argument.
Tell me more,
It's either
please.
it's like we think in binary terms, like it's either one or the other, and I'm like, what about option 3?
Okay.
And
So
now
then what is that in option 3? So like, can you think of a circumstance where you got free of something that was causing you some suffering, or maybe you saw someone else do it,
yeah.
where they got rid of, or they dropped the suffering of a pursuit or an activity, but they continued that pursuit or that activity and maybe even got better at it. And what was it, if there was something like that? What was it that they used as motivation, say? I know it's your favorite word. Why? I mean, what possessed them to choose the damn thing if they were no longer being hurt by it?
Right.
Was
I
it
mean,
love? Was it curiosity? I mean, what would you call that?
well, I
What
see that,
what
and
what's there
again,
to drive people absent suffering?
what I'm hearing in that statement is another assumption that people need a driver.
So then the secret sauce is you yourself. It's me, myself, and my I can choose to go this way or that.
That's where I go. You see the like what people it's like you can do shit. You can choose shit from nothing. You can decide to do something from nothing.
So you are free
You're
from
already free.
nothing
That's right.
and responsible.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a tall order right there. And so, yeah, you can just fucking decide to do shit. So it's like, what's motivating people? Well, they're motivating themselves to take action, and they're also already taking the action of suffering, and they're also already taking the action of being upset, and they're also already taking the action of creating a reality in which they see things a certain way such that they would get upset and running it automatically, and they're already doing that.
And
But most,
they're already choosing that suffering
yeah,
without a drive. So why can't they choose the good shit without a drive?
something like that. And one again, it makes it challenging because people are very ignorant, which is to say they're not conscious of what's really going on. They don't see it. The more free I get, the more I see other people. I'm like, oh my God, they're going through all kinds of shit. There's like layers and layers of what they don't see. I mean, I've seen it in myself over the years. Like, oh my God. So then brings me to like another point, something I hear in the workshops when I'm going, like Peter wrote in one of the workshops. It's like, so we bring up principles, and we don't like bring up principles as if there's some right way to live, but the way he said it in the workshops, and when I present it to people, when I read it to people, it's something like, and we use it as like an anvil to forge a new experience.
You bring up principles as an anvil to
To
forge new experience.
forge a new experience. Like you said before, you're like, I think I need more than one pass at this. I'm like, yes. You might have to hit it again and again and again. If you want to change that automatic mind stuff, those programs, those deep programs, those powerful programs, the ones that keep coming up over and over and over again as if it's out of your control, you want to change that shit, might have to hit it a few times. I'm just saying.
Might have to come to a workshop.
You're goddamn right. And specifically, the Ending Suffering Workshop, which is happening this fall. Sign up or see you next fall, or in Holland next year. That's the idea. But so in either case, you got to work at it. You worked to create it. You got to work a bit to destroy it.
Hmm.
And there's, in addition to that, sometimes in my work, I'll go down a road, then I might discover something like some hidden assumption, something I think is really true of reality that's actually not, or it's true of others, it's actually not what I think is true, but it's not true. And then I get it, and lots of it can crumble. You can like wholesale get rid of a whole bunch of suffering right away. Like one, for example, is
It's like Tetris. You
yeah,
get the
there you
perfect
go.
one and
Right,
it
get
all
the boom. You can get the get the fucking linchpin, which I recommend. See if you can find some of that stuff. And again, I'm speaking metaphorically, but I'm speaking about your mind. Your mind. And it's like, one area I found is like comparison. Don't compare yourself to others on a value scale. Just flat out cut that out. You don't need it. It doesn't do anything. It just hurts. Whole
What
bunch
about
of, yeah.
right and wrong? Yesterday, so I noticed, so because
Oh, if I
I'm
do this,
talking
I
to
won't know right and wrong anymore. Oh,
no. Like, so I'm talking to lawyers and I'm trying to get this thing done with my son and all this stuff.
yeah.
And I've noticed that I think that the legal system should be based on what's true and what's good for human beings, like solid
Yeah.
principles that are absolute and universal, and we don't fucking argue them.
That's right.
And lawyers and judges, where I am, and probably most everywhere, couldn't care less nor even conceive of such things.
Yeah.
What they care about is winning and losing and money.
Sure.
And what I just see is what looks good, what looks bad, how do I portray this, how do I portray that? You want to win? It's not
Yeah.
about the truth.
That's right.
It's not about the truth at all.
No. No. It's
No.
about playing a game.
It's about playing a game, and I'm like, I hate this game. It hurts to play this game.
Mm-hmm.
This game is disgusting, and I feel trapped that I have to play this game, and I feel trapped that I feel trapped. I resent feeling trapped,
Whole bunch of shit
and
going
it's
on.
all a bunch of shit out there about this, like how the world is composed. And then I start putting it on the whole world and all the various systems and institutions and
Exactly.
governments and corporations and
Yeah.
laws and blah,
Oh yeah.
and just how it's just people making shit up to get their agendas met, and it has nothing to do with what's true or what's good.
Mm-mm. You want
And
to
it
end some suffering on that? Radically accept that that is the case. Go ahead. And also, so you can do that right away. Just love that game. Oh yeah. So join it. Yes. Say yes to it instead of fuck you. So you can try that right away. And then also, I bet in all that anger is some love that you have for others because you wish they weren't hurting people.
hurting themselves, hurting each other,
Yeah.
hurting me, hurting people that I love. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's probably behind your anger is some love, probably.
Hmm.
Just
Which makes me a
yeah.
good person, and I can identify about
But
that.
yeah, like if you yeah, and then again you might say, "Oh, well if I love the game then I won't play it." Well, no, 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 no. You can love it for exactly what it is and destroy them. Do play the game and fucking win and not be attached to an outcome
Hmm.
and still be powerful in the game. Like, when you master fighting, this is more of an adversarial game, so it's like fighting. And when you do fighting, it's best as Peter's going off, take social out of it.
Yeah.
You just destroy.
What bothers me is the hypocrisy. In a boxing match, the two dudes know they're trying to pound each other's face in, and they
See,
don't
again,
they
you
don't
have right.
pretend.
If you
But
if you
but
don't want to
but the
suffer, yeah,
legal system, people are like, oh, it's about the benefit of the child, and it's about truth and justice, and it's about
and they're full of shit.
and it's all of that seems to me to be just more forms of manipulation.
Hmm. Which you don't like, and you
Yeah.
think should be some other way. I mean, within the
I trust
context
I
of
trust the
this,
guy that's trying to strangle me a whole lot more.
yeah, it's a lot more clear what his intentions are, right?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm losing blood flow to the head. Okay, yep. You also trust that when you tap, he'll let go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot more because there's no bullshit in there, really. It's hard to bullshit when you're doing physical with somebody, like especially when you're trying to fuck them up. So yeah, I mean, if you don't want to suffer that, you got to accept it. But if you if you're doing the no suffering thing, you'd have to confront that you think it should be some other way.
Sure do.
Yeah, and there you
I
go. There's your
I
problem
do.
right there.
I think that it should be different
And
than it
I
is,
do
Brendan.
too, and it would piss me off too, and I would suffer the same shit. See? But if you don't want to suffer, that's where you have to let go of something that you want. It should be some other way is what you want. So that's where the death has to occur. Then you won't suffer. You'll end that thought because that should is a thought that you have. And you can't control that. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, maybe you could if you got a team, billions of dollars, people in
Oh
power.
man, that stuff's so entrenched. It's the way of the world.
Yeah. And
I'm
it's
not
so many
talking about
people.
something that's like just like related
Right.
to one community. It's all over.
Yeah. So then again, you see how committed we are to the suffering.
Hmm.
It's strong. And it is suffering. It's not happy. So, and that's just one small example. And what you outlined was very complex. You can see all the moving parts. It all works together,
Mm.
spreads out on the world. Like it's a shit show. This is why I say we're pretty fucked up as people. Because you don't need to do that. But we will. Anyway, I do have to get going because I've got a call You're
Yeah.
invited to join me. I mean, monthly or pay me to work with you. I do that shit. Um, but yeah, how's that?
I think it's great. I think this has been really beneficial. I really appreciate it a lot
Yeah,
because you're helping me clarify some insights that I've had, and I know they can slip away very, 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 very quickly. And unless I continue to look into my experience and be responsible for it, notice that
yeah,
I'm actually the one being responsible for it, not just words that wash over me and in one ear and out the other. But
yeah,
it's really helpful. I really appreciate it and what you do. And I hope that the people who are listening, whether however many people, try to take it to uh, heart, look into your own situation, notice the places, if you can,
yeah. The answer's
where,
right there. It's in your experience. It's not somewhere else.
hmm.
It's like you don't need a workshop for that shit.
But if you come to a workshop, maybe it'll get easier.
We'll get you faster. But the truth is, you don't. You know, if you really want to be honest about it, you don't. You don't need a fucking workshop. You just need you and your own experience and honesty, probably brutal honesty and some responsibility, and you'll be good to go. And then a fuck ton of work, but yeah.
All right, bro.
Cool. Well, thank you. I do have to run because I got a call, and we'll catch up later.
Okie dokie.
Thanks, man. Much
Ciao.
love. Take care.